Video games have formed a massive part of my life. So when it comes down to ranking my top 10, it isn't exactly the easiest thing on the planet. However, I decided that now is the time to do so because I have a lot planned for the upcoming months and what I want to do with not only my collecting, but more specifically with my gaming. You guys know I'm very focused on my collection at the moment, where I'm focusing on the Astrobot collection video. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. But I don't just want to collect these games, I want to play them. So before we get into what my grand scheme and my entire plan is, I need to do this video where I tell you guys what my top 10 games of all time are. Now there are a few ground rules. There's not too many. It's just games that I have completed start to finish. So games like Returnal, where I have played a lot of it, but I haven't finished the main story, are not going to qualify for this list. I don't know if it'll even make it onto the list, but it's just a clarification. Also, I don't want two games from the same series. So, for example, I don't want Jak and Daxter 1 and Jak and Daxter 2. They can't both be on the list. I have to choose my favorite of the two, and that's the only way they will qualify for the list. I hope that makes sense. Those are kind of my ground rules for this. But without further ado, let's hop into number 10. So in at number 10, we have Horizon Forbidden West. Giant Robot T-Rex. Need I say more? Well, I can. This game improved on what was already one of the best looking games out there, with possibly the most interesting monsters/machines that could ever be put into games. They made so many quality of life improvements to what was already a great game, with a story that was definitely engaging. However, I kind of felt like the story was the weakest part of this game. With that being said, I have to mention that the side missions were some of my favorite parts of this title. They perfected their gameplay and streamlined the experience to make arguably one of the best open worlds ever. Not to mention the Burning Shores DLC did a lot to rectify a lot of the story shortcomings that were present in Forbidden West. Number 9 is Ultimate Alliance. This game epitomizes my childhood. I learned to love Marvel comics and characters through this game's endless amounts of lore and trivia quizzes. The gameplay is still extremely playable, and the sheer amount of characters in this game are more than enough to make any Marvel fan cry, especially if you love your comics. Its sequel did not do as much for me, but this is the ultimate Marvel game for any fan that existed before the MCU took the world by storm. Truly a worthy game to be on this list. Number 8 is Persona 4 Golden, a game series that I did not think I was going to fall in love with, let alone fall so far in love with that I'm actually buying the manga of the game. I also took a risk with this, as this is easily my most expensive second-hand purchase ever. Not that that would be a high ceiling, mind you, but the story and turn-based gameplay that this game is built around are spectacular, and it is so easy to see why the PS Vita is the home of this special game. So much so that I'm actually scared to play Persona 5 Royal on the PS5, because I feel as though these games are meant to be played on a portable system. Number 7 is Hades. I have spoken about how Hades had got me through 2023 numerous times on this channel. Yes, I was late to the party on the spectacular game, but I am so glad that I found it in arguably my toughest academic year to date. Having almost no time to game throughout the year lent itself perfectly to the roguelike experience that Hades was, where you can do maybe 1 or 2 runs and move on with your day. This game is phenomenal. The gameplay, perfect. Story, masterful. Graphics, stunning. I really do not have anything negative to say about this game at all. Make sure you play Hades ASAP. Number 6 goes to Ghost of Tsushima. As much as it pains me to say, Ghost of Tsushima is better than Horizon. That pain is eased by the fact that this game has been one of my gaming highlights. The visuals are excellent and the combat is flawless, but Horizon is similar in these respects. Where Ghost of Tsushima stands out is the story. It's far more engaging and gripping than Horizon, and the side missions, collectibles, and attention to detail are simply spectacular. I am truly a massive fan of this open world phenomenon. Number 5 is Dark Souls Remastered. I think I owe a lot of people apologies because Dark Souls was nothing close to what I was expecting. It's perfection in a game. The gameplay is brutal but fair. Take the time to learn your enemies, not you, and practice patience, and this game will be one of the most rewarding experiences you have ever played. I fell in love with the grind and exploring every inch of this game, and if you want to watch my entire experience of the game, make sure to check out my Dark Souls playlist. Number 4 is a game that was arguably up for contention with my favorite game of all time for a very long time, and that is The Last of Us. There was a time where this could have challenged for second or third spot on this list, and I definitely prefer part 1 over part 2, but ultimately it dropped a couple places because while it has still got an incredible story that gripped me from start to finish, the gameplay maybe hasn't aged as well. Even with the remakes, additions, and clearing up of what wasn't really that much of rough edges, it still is a game that deserves to be on anyone's top 5 list or top 10 list. It just doesn't quite reach the top 3 for me anymore. In third place is God of War Ragnarok. Wow, everything about it screams masterpiece. A pure spectacle from beginning to end. It's very difficult for me to choose between God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. Ask me on a different day and 2018 could take the spot. But what Ragnarok has is just more of the same great formula, plus quality of life improvements that actually matter. The story is amazing, and I'm not one of those that feel that it was rushed near the end. I personally don't feel that. The story is concise and is exactly what it needs to be, but it's not just that that makes it stand out. The combat is one of the best in the business, and the world is immaculate. It's not quite an open world and it's not quite linear, but it's this perfect blend between the two, having somewhat of an open zone design. And my goodness, if you only focused on the story and didn't explore the rest of these open areas, you are truly missing out on what is a spectacular, spectacular game. Never have I ever wanted a game to succeed so much, and then it does, and it blows my expectations right out the water. Astrobot is number 2, and what an absolute masterpiece. I truly have nothing bad to say about this game other than I wish there was more of it. This is the mascot PlayStation fans have been crying out for decades, and the beautiful thing about Astrobot is it pays homage to all those who held the mantle at some stage. Whether it's Kratos or Ratchet, whoever has held the mantle of PlayStation mascot at some period of time, Astrobot pays homage to them, and it is beautiful. The gameplay is perfection. The story is charming and heartfelt, but the game is up here because it is a true love letter to everything that I've come to be so attached to in our very own PlayStation universe. It loves everything that PlayStation has done over the years and pays respects to that in such a beautiful manner that I truly cannot explain it and put it into words. You just have to experience this game. There are references in this game that I didn't know about, and it's made me learn more about the history of PlayStation, which is just a fantastic thing. So if you haven't yet and you are a PlayStation fan, make sure you check Astrobot out. This game alone is a reason to buy a PlayStation because you can play Astro's Playroom and then Astrobot straight away afterwards, and that is the way to do it. In at number 1 is no surprise to anyone. This game, I have said numerous times, is my number 1 game of all time, and that hasn't changed. And that is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It has a fantastic story, characters, music, and gameplay. It's beyond a masterpiece, and I have yet to play a game that is better. The DLC Blood and Wine even beats out most of the other games on this list if it were just a standalone game. This was my first game that I purchased on PS4 way back when I got it back in 2016, and wow, did it ruin every other game that I wanted to play after it. I always get excited whenever a new game is announced and I get so hyped, but then they never come close to touching this top spot because this game does everything right. It's an open world that is not like any other thing that I've experienced. The story pulls all the heartstrings, and yet you can entirely create your own adventure with it. It's so great that I had to go get the platinum, and that's when I discovered that the best way to play this game is actually on Deathmatch difficulty, which is the hardest one, because it almost forces you to engage in the deep item utilization that I almost never got to do in my original playthroughs. The Witcher 3 is my number 1 game of all time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Guys, let me know what your top 10 games are in the comments down below, or maybe just give me your top 3. This is a top 5 special. This is still top 5 Tuesdays, but what we're going to do on Friday is go through my recent pickups. Obviously, I have been offline for a bit. I've missed 2 weeks of uploads, and I truly apologize for that, but it is going to be worth it because there is so much content that is on the horizon, and it's going to make sense why I did this top 10 list in a couple weeks time, because there is so much more that is going to be relying on not only this top 10 list, but a lot of what we're doing on the side. We're doing a lot of collecting, we're doing a lot of gaming, and I want to get as much of the two in as possible. So stay tuned to the channel, and I cannot wait to see you on Friday. Cheers.